My name's Kate Lewis. I work for Auckland Council as a geologist and a volcanologist. And we're going to mostly talk about volcanoes today and what we have under volcanoes and the ways that you all being out and around might, might contribute to the effort. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So I am from the United States. You can hear my voice. I've been here 15 years and the accent never goes away. So I'm an American forever in that respect. I'm a dual citizen now, which is nice and something I'm very proud of and happy about. My son is here with me. This is a long time ago. He's now 19 and several inches taller than I am. He's just finished high school a year ago, and he's going to study in the United States next year, actually. So I'm going to be heartbroken losing him, on the other side of the world. But I figure it's my revenge for taking him away from my parents. So, I have a master's degree from the University of Michigan studying volcanoes in Mexico. And my PhD is from Duke University, where I studied in the Caribbean and looked at geothermal systems and volcanic systems and earthquakes in volcanic and geothermal systems. And then was working at the University of Auckland up until 2020 and just started working for Council just over a year ago. So I'm pretty new still at Council. This is a picture of the female contingent of one of our research projects, which was in Saudi Arabia. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. There are lots of volcanoes on the western side of Saudi Arabia. I will talk about it because there are parallels with Auckland. I'm going to bring in a little bit about Hawaii and a little bit about that volcanic field in Saudi Arabia. So first I'm going to talk about the Auckland volcanic field. Here we are here, right down near Three Kings. This is about the extent of the field. So it ends just north of Takapuna and goes down south. Usually now I would draw it as an oval more than a rectangle, but whatever, it doesn't matter. The important thing that is of interest is that it's considered an active volcanic field. So we could potentially have a volcano pop up at any time, anywhere in this area. So I get asked a lot when Rangitoto is going to erupt next. And the answer is it probably won't, because Rangitoto has erupted twice, but every other volcano in the Auckland volcanic field has only erupted once. And when the volcanic field is going to spurt out lava, it comes up in a new place. And it's about, it's about 200,000 years old. So, what am I doing? There we go. I throw this in mostly because it's just a beautiful image. 1859, an Austrian naturalist came and painted a version of the Auckland volcanic field, which is actually pretty good. We've found a few errors that he made, but it was already heavily vegetated, of course, at that time. So it's challenging to trace lava flows over vegetated areas, but a lot more challenging now because of all the infrastructure and the quarrying and all that. So this is actually, in addition to a beautiful painting, it is also a useful resource that we consult. And again, here's Three Kings down here. This is with all the scoria cones, and then this is a big lava flow coming down here. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what these things are. So ash tuff rings, or explosion craters, and just to illustrate for you how variable the Auckland volcanic field is. So the cones are really obvious, right, when you're moving around the field, around the city. But all these green circles are where there were sizable explosions which made craters. Many of them are now lakes, and sometimes it's easy to forget that those are all volcanoes, and most of us don't know that half the volcanoes almost in Auckland had an explosive crater forming activity before it had made scoria cones and then had lava flows. So here's what scoria cone formation looks like, and Hawaii is a great analog for us. So the Hawaiian eruptions in 2018 were very difficult and destroyed a lot of property. Luckily, that was a relatively rural area. So 2018, 2019 in Hawaii. We are in a different situation because we're a sizable city on top of the volcanic field, but it's useful for us to look at different places and see how do basaltic volcanoes, so the material that Auckland volcanoes are made of is called basalt. It's a kind of lava, and it's very fluid and fountains up like this. So it throws lava up in the air and it comes raining down, and that makes these beautiful cones that we have. We also get some explosive activity. Usually the first stage is explosive, and that's because the magma is coming up from below and it interacts with water. And it can be groundwater, it can be a lake, it can be an ocean. And because that magma is at 1,000 degrees Celsius, when it hits the water, it bursts, it explodes into steam. And it carries a lot of ash and a lot of whatever the rock is underneath it with it. So this is from Iceland, but unfortunately, one of the aspects of Auckland volcanoes is this explosive phase often. And we generally, Auckland Emergency Management is looking at evacuation radii of around 3 to 4 to 5 kilometers around when we see activity happening. So it can go quite far. And the result of it is a big hole in the ground. Most of our holes in the ground have been filled in by lakes, sediment, swampy areas. But we do still have a lot of tuff rings. So the tuff is ash and rocks deposited around the side of the crater. And Pupuke has a tuff ring. Most of our craters have tuff rings. You don't always see them or aren't so aware of them because of the scoria cones. And also because of the lava flows, which have then sometimes come out and take out the tuff ring. This is a photo just because it's such a spectacular photo. This is in Hawaii, again, that same eruption just a few years ago. This is called a fissure. So a fissure is a long, skinny area which cracks open and lava comes fountaining out, and then lava flows extend out from there. And this is something that we need to think about in Auckland in terms of property, land, people, getting people out in time. Auckland has a sort of an evacuation problem because we have a lot of people in a relatively small area and not very many roads. But it is something that Auckland Emergency Management actually really thinks about. So we have volcano evacuation plans in Auckland, which is good. Many of our volcanoes have had all three of these phases. So an explosive period, and then scoria cone formation, and then lava flows. The two of the least touched ones by humans are Rangitoto and Motu Korea. Motu Korea is particularly spectacular because you can see, it doesn't even have trees on it really. So here's this very edge around here is the tuff ring, which is, again, it's the material that comes out of that. It's ash, rocks, both magma blown up and whatever it erupted through. Then here's the scoria cone, and these are lava flows that extended down from the scoria cone. So we have quite a few of those in Auckland, which have gone through all three phases. And this I just put in for interest because actually I was just talking to someone earlier I don't know your name, I'm sorry, but about Bruce Hayward. So one of our most famous, well-known geologists in Auckland is named Bruce Hayward. And he and others have put a lot of effort into deciphering which lava flows match which volcanoes. And one of the more interesting mysteries, well, no one thought it was a mystery until then they did. So this is Meola Reef, which is a lava flow that extends out. This is around Point Chev. And people assumed that was from Mount Eden or Three Kings because they produced voluminous lava flows, and why not? It might as well just keep going. And only when we got quite good dates on the lavas was it discovered that it was Mount St. John, which now is, it's not that big. It's a relatively small volcano in the grand scheme of things, but it's much older than the others. So it's 75,000 years old. And at that time, there was a river valley that extended down, I don't know exactly, maybe around through here. And so the Mount St. John lavas were quite voluminous and channeled down a river valley. So they just went, kept going. And then Mount Eden, which is only 28,000 years old, popped up right on top and obscured where those lavas had come from. So that's the kind of thing we try to do in the volcanological community in Auckland, is try to decipher some of those mysteries, which helps then reflect on the hazard situation and what's to be expected next. So the other thing that is associated with big lava flows, and this gets into my current work of looking at geologic conservation work, is lava caves. And we know about dozens and dozens of lava caves under Auckland. This is a new one that was new, meaning it was discovered last year. The way lava caves form is so this is in Hawaii. So there's a lava, here, wait, I should have put that other photo first. Here, hold on. Yeah, so here's the source is up here somewhere. The lava is coming down in a river. And what happens, see this, so the underlying, the really hot stuff is red and yellow. The overlying, the surface of the flow starts to cool, obviously in the air, starts to cool. And what happens is it actually gets thicker, the crust on the top gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And it forms this, a ceiling over the lava flow, at which point then it's a tunnel. So then it's a lava flow in a tunnel. And this is one of the things that I did when I worked in the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, is you throw, so it's important to understand the volcanoes to get the chemistry of them over time as they, because the chemistry changes over time. And incidentally, that's been a way of deciphering which flows come from which volcanoes in Auckland, is they have different chemical signatures. But anyway, you throw this is a hammer head, like a sledgehammer on a wire, and you throw it down, and there's that lava river is down there, pull it up and drop it in a can of water. It was exciting. It was fun. It felt, my first day. So it's going to be heavy because the lava is very viscous. It's sort of like molasses or honey or something, and but it's flowing. But when you get that hammerhead in there, it actually starts dragging it away. And so you sort of instinctively wrap the cable around your arm in order to make sure, to give yourself grunt to pull it out. And that was my lesson on my first day was, Kate, don't wrap the cable around your arm because we'd rather lose the cable than you. I thought, okay, that's a good thing to keep in mind. That's good. So eventually the eruption stops, the lava drains out, and you're left with a tunnel. Here, so these sort of braided shape here is where you've just had lava flow settle, stop, and freeze. And this is actually from Three Kings. This is in Onehunga here. And then it's preserved forever until someone finds it. And so I'm sure you know that from as long as there have been humans here, people have been interested in these caves. And people use them for burial, for storage. This particular cave, and in fact, most of the caves that are found by accident now haven't had people in them. So the diggers and things crash through them, the edges of them. That's what happens here. This is under somebody's house. So I'm sure they have very mixed feelings about this, actually. And that's one of our problems, is that people have very mixed feelings about lava caves. This is just to illustrate some of the features in the cave. See it's as it flows down, it forms, we call them levees, or the lava goes up and down and sloshes over the sides, and you can actually see that in some of the caves still. So I'm talking about this, sorry, this is too many words, don't read the words. Just, I'm putting it up there to show that lava caves and fossils, and the reason I'm talking about this is because you all are out and around and in the environment. You have the potential to actually find these things, and they are protected. So this is just to illustrate that within the regulations in Auckland, lava caves and fossils and subfossils, which are related to fossils, are protected features. So if you find them, and this is also talking to you as landowners, because one of the main ways the lava caves are discovered and some fossils are in the process of building. You probably saw on the news being naturalists. I'm thinking of you all as naturalists.
Christina came and talked to us about that.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, you've seen this. So we're just going on the idea that you're interested in other things other than plants and animals. And so good. You've had the introduction to the Moa footprints. And it is out there to all of you to help us find them. These end up at the museum, actually. They were closely watched by the local iwi and the museum, and so they're safe. And so where do you find lava caves? And the answer is where you've had lava flows. So we know there are lots of lava caves on Rangitoto, and the best place to go in one, in several, and see them is Rangitoto. But there are lava caves as a result of Mount Smart, Three Kings, One Tree Hill, Mount Eden. All these volcanoes that have had voluminous lava flows have lava caves under them. So when you're out walking around, I mean, like I said, usually at this point it takes a digger to crash through the ceiling of one, but you never know. And and with fossils as well. And the thing that I should say also, fossils have been found in tuff, so that sort of, sometimes it's quite hard, sometimes it's softer. Those ash deposits around volcanoes sometimes have fossils. So in all cases, oh yeah, and sorry, this is another discovery from last year. Hole in the ground. They tried to fill it with concrete before someone told us about it. So that was kind of sad, because this has quite interesting features here. But it was still nice to see it, and now it's covered up. It's not filled in, it's covered up. This I put in sort of as, so as landowners, if this happens, if you're working, you need to stop work and tell us. So my email is at the end of this presentation. There are 2 of us on the natural features team. Other people who are interested in lava caves are archaeologists, Mana Whenua, and I just put this in here to emphasize that they're protected features, and please talk to us. And the next one is, if you find one of these things, and this is not only as a landowner doing earthworks, but if you find them, we want them to be protected. We want to be as helpful as possible. Or if you know someone who finds one, please tell us. And that's the message here. We try to, I know, dealing with consent applications is really a headache almost all the time. But we try to make this not a headache, if at all possible. So I said I was going to talk a little bit about working in Saudi Arabia, and that's because this is just a couple more minutes. So this is the city of Medina, which is very important for Islam, and this is a volcanic field. All these little black fingers are lava flows. You can't see it here, I realize, but here's a volcano, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. They're all down. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. It's a much, much older system than the Auckland volcanic field. Their volcanoes, they go all the way down, they all go all the way from Yemen up through Saudi Arabia and up into Syria. This latest eruption was about the same time as Rangitoto. The difference is that at that time there was a city there already. So there were people in their houses watching their stories written, watching the lava come closer and closer and closer, and then it stopped. So they all, of course this is 1200, right? They assumed this was divine intervention, that the lava flow stopped just in time. Now, people take it not so seriously. And, I wanted to show this. So I just put this in, and I know you guys are plant people, and I am also a plant person, but sometimes plants get in the way, and going to Saudi Arabia was really an extraordinary experience for a geologist, because, there's all this, I've referred to this a couple of times in Auckland, trying to figure out which lava flow came from which volcano is not obvious. And here you just go and you look at it. And then if you want to, you can walk along it or you can fly over it. It was really something else. It was a really different and cool experience. But the point is, because I'm talking about geologic conservation, here's the city. So this is in 1984, and here's one of the tongues of that lava flow. Here's another tongue. Here's some, the white stuff is just dust has been blown around. And then here it is in 2018. So you can see the city has gone from basically this to this entire area. They've taken out the toes of the lava flows, and there's just no protection there at all. And so this is part of the inspiration for my work and our work. And we have it right here. So here, I should have zoomed in on this, but this used to be several cones. Here are these big extensive lava flows coming out of it. And if you look on Google Maps right now, this is what you see. So there's a little bit of couple cones here that are still standing, and otherwise it's just a big quarry and lots of buildings. And actually now I think it's even been, now there are houses going up, right? This is an old picture. So that's other inspiration for my job. And yeah, so there we are. That's the Auckland volcanic field now. And so it's a combination of what's there, what can be saved, and the nice thing about having reserves on many of the volcanoes is hoping to preserve the plants too. And I should say, and this is maybe something I should have talked more about, but in the outstanding natural feature, in my role as protecting outstanding natural features, and that is a category of geologic features that is scheduled for protection under the Auckland Unitary Plan and Resource Management Act. One of the things that we look for example, if someone wants to build in one of these areas, which includes volcanoes, it includes cliffs, it includes sand dunes, it includes shelly beaches. Many of these features are protected. One of the things that I am supposed to pay attention to is the planting. So people need to be planting indigenous natives on the features. So that's part of my role, which is something that I lean heavily on the actual people who know something about plants for. So that's it. Oh, and if you want to learn more about volcanoes, get this book. Bruce Hayward he's really good. He's a geologist. He's been doing this for decades. He writes in a pretty accessible way, good photos. This is Alistair Jameson is my mentor in this job. He was doing this before I did. This is an online guide. And